Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Hybrid Mixing. I'm Marty from Loudbox Music, and today we are going to do, or I'm going to show you another mix breakdown of quite a common song in the kind of like educational field. The song is called I'm Alright by Angels and Amplifiers. It's a free multi-track that you can download with a link below, and you can use it for your own mixing techniques, so to get a little bit better for your own training, or you can use it as I do for tutorial purposes. All right. So what we are going to do is we're going to split it up in 3 parts, and I'm going to do first of all the whole rhythm section, so the drums and the percussion, and then we go into the instruments like bass, guitar, and piano, and finally we also have the lead vocal and the background vocals and the effects that I'm going to use for that. So it's going to be a little bit on the console with the EQs, outboard equipment, some compression, and of course with plugins. The song itself is recorded very good as I listen to the raw tracks, and but we're going to use a little bit EQ and compression here and there. And I would say I'm going to jump right in now, and let's see what I've done to the mix. And probably it would be interesting for you when you download the song, so the raw tracks, what you might be doing to the song, and you can compare it to my mix. All right, so let's get started. All right, so basically I'm gonna play you now the song which is already mixed, and then I'm gonna disengage all the plugins and all the EQs and outboard equipment, and we're gonna start from scratch. All right, so here's another song.
About to change, it's changing all around. I know the reasons you've arranged, they're tearing me down. Where is the peacefulness of mine? Where will my heart come back to life? I'm alright as I pick up the pieces that I've left in me. I'm alright.
Okay, and so forth. So let's now disengage all the plugins, and I'm back in a minute. So those were the plugins. Now, of course, all the settings for the EQs, quite a bit. And of course, also outboard effects. And that should be basically it. We'll also bypass the master bus with some EQ and compression on there. And that should now be everything, all right? So what I basically do is when I start a song, I just bring up the faders and make a very rough mix, which I did already here. Just brought up the drums, bass, and the instruments quite where I feel they are quite okay-ish. So sounds like that then. It sounds quite okay, a little bit dark. Drums don't have that snap that I actually want to hear. So, and then I would say let's start with the drums now. So let's solo just all the drums. Maybe without percussion first. All right, so what we basically have here is kick drum, snare drum, we got overheads and toms, and we got no room mic. So that's kind of interesting. And well, let's see what we have on the kick, for example. So let's solo the kick for a little bit. Sounds okay. What I want to do is get a little bit more of a bottom end out there. And so the first thing I did is I pulled up a channel EQ here. And what I basically did here is rolled off the very lows, so 30 Hertz. There isn't on this particular drum that much that I really want to keep. And I also reduced a little bit of 69 here, or 96, excuse me, just to make a little bit room for the bass of the watts, so that they don't collide. The bass is around 90 to 100, so the main frequencies, or the real bottom end. And so when I have the kick a little bit lower here, so it sounds with that engaged. All right. And on the console EQ wise, I boosted a little bit of 3000, and I boosted quite a bit of 50, 40B I think, and I reduced the top end, which is here around 12,000 Hertz, just to get rid of everything that's up there, like the pleadings of a cymbals or hi-hat, right? So again, without both the channel EQ and without the analog EQ. And with. All right. And what I also have now is a little bit of compression, just to get all the hits quite a little bit even. So just 4 to 5 dB here with the DBX 160, 3 to 1 compression. All right. And on the all the drums, as well as the percussion, so the rhythm section goes to group 1 and 2 on the console here, where is inserted a compressor that's really compressing in kind of like a parallel mode. So compressing really heavily. I'm gonna show you that afterwards when we have all the drums going on, and it's kind of like a blend. So you blend in the parallel compression to the original signal. Makes it a little bit more thicker, a little bit more present, and everything has more punch. All right, so that was the kick drum, and I would say let's go now to the snare. And here we have some interesting stuff. Let's solo it. So it's very well recorded. It's really punch to it, and smack. I really like that. But I really want to make it cut through the mix. And what I basically did here is I used a little bit of EQ. I boosted quite a bit of top end. And I also boosted a little bit of the bottom end, around 140 of the snare. So this with and without. All right, so don't be shy to use quite a bit of EQ on drums. You can really bring them alive with that. And of course, a little bit of compression, again, just to make it even. Again, just 5 dB or something like that, with a compression of 4 to 1 here. Okay, and then to really cut through the mix, I'm gonna use a smack attack here, and I'm gonna show you then also how it sounds with the transient shaper and without. And what this basically does is you can correct or control the sustain after the hit, so you can really make it really choppy and really cut through a dense mix. And that's what we basically want to do with the transient shaper here. So to make it very present, sounds like that. So that's without. All right, so really now I'm cutting through. Let's listen to that on the whole mix, maybe. So that's with.
I know the seasons right to change. changing all around.
It's lost a little bit. Really comes alive with the transient shaker. So it's the smack attack from Waves. I really like that plugin. And then I used on top of that a limiter. So limiting just a little bit, 2 dB or something like that. So not particularly making anything louder, but just to really even it out and to have a consistent level. All right, so that was the snare drum. Now let's move on to the toms and the overheads. On toms, I just used the SSL channel. So what we have here is a little bit of compression, ratio 4:1, and fast release and a fast attack. And we're compressing up to 6 dB here, which is a little bit more, but I think it sounds quite okay. And without EQ here. Okay, so what I did here is I boosted 7,000 Hertz quite a bit, 6 dB. And I also reduced a little bit of 300 just to get the muddiness out there a little bit. And that's basically all I did here, EQ and compression wise in the box. And what I did on the channel, which is also the same channel as the overhead. So I routed the toms and the overheads to the same channel. And I just boosted here 12,000 Hertz just to get some air in there. And that's basically it. Sounds like that. Let's engage it. Again without. And with. So you come really alive. All right. Then overheads. Let's solo that. Let's use the whole track here again. Again, without the analog EQ. And with. And what I also did is just use the compression, Quick Child here from Waves, and I used just a little bit compression with a faster release, up to 1.5 dB of compression. So it really depends. Sometimes you can compress the overheads a little bit more, depending of course on the player, on the drum kit and so forth, and on the room. But in this case, I just wanted to keep them a little bit more alive and to have a more natural sound there. All right. So that were the overheads. And now maybe let's go, before we go to the percussion, let's play all the drums again without percussion. Now let's bring in the percussion. Some bongos in there, a shaker. And I used here the Clemhelm compressor, which is a very fat sounding compressor. Maybe let's solo that here. Used in the time constants, and the auto setting fits quite perfectly, in my opinion. Again, without. Okay. And on the console, I used on the EQ a little bit of 12,000 Hertz again, 3 dB to be exactly, and I used, or I also brought in a little bit of 350 to 400, around 4 to 5 dB. Sounds like that. So that's with. Without. Okay. Again, all the drums together. Without compression, any EQ. Okay, so that were basically all the drums. And what I also used is a little bit of a reverb setting here on my Elysis, which is the warm room setting. And it sounds like that. So let's just now solo without the bass, the drums, and bring in the effect. So in solo, that's just the Elysis. Again without. Okay. And what I also have on the snare drum is a reverb, which is on the Lexicon MX200. And it sounds like that. So it's kind of like a delay and a little bit of a hall setting of a drum hall. Without it. So overemphasize it. Okay. So I really like inserting a dedicated reverb on the snare. It's kind of like a little bit of an 80s style, but used sparingly. It fills out a little bit the space between the snare and the kick hits and makes it also a little bit bigger. Okay. So we got now the parallel compression. As I said, group 1 and 2 go all the drums and the percussion. And let's solo now just group 1 and 2, which is the parallel compressor, Elysis 3632. So it's really slamming. Without compression. So let me show you what I did here. Let's play it again from the beginning. As you can see, quite serious compression going on there. Ratio 4:1, fast attack, fast release, quite a bit of makeup gain of course, and we're compressing up to 9, -10 of dB gain reduction. It's in the peak mode, hard knee, and that's basically it. And now let's move on to the instruments and start with the bass.